Good afternoon. It is Monday, August 2nd at just after noon. And my name is Larry Cedar. I'm back with you for another session on scanning. Now, I'm going to spell it from this point forward as the word is normally spelled, S-C-A-N-N-I-N-G. And the reason I'm doing that is because in speaking to some people who've come to the sessions and enjoy them, they said, yeah, I like your technique that sconning or squanning or, they just didn't quite make the connection. So, the shortest distance between 2 points is always the best. So let's get that cue out over there and just call it what it is, scanning. Scanning is a relaxation technique which utilizes the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. The incremental release of muscular tension. Doing this, squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, release. That's it. Squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, release. That simple process is all we're doing with scanning. And by releasing muscular tension incrementally throughout your body, scanning your body and looking for pockets of muscular tension, you will bring your state, your overall being, and that includes your mental and emotional state as well as your physical, into a state of calm and peace and clarity. This is a technique I developed after reading a book many, many years ago, which I continue to read, called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment by Thaddeus Golas, G-O-L-A-S. You can still get the book. Try to get the first edition if you can. I think he tried to make some changes to it after that, which I felt diluted the effectiveness of the book, but Thaddeus Golas, bless his heart, is gone now. So out of respect to him, I say buy whichever copy you like. I'm sure his intentions were good. I know they were. So what Thaddeus Golas said is there's two basic states, two basic functions in the universe, two basic states of being: contraction, squeeze your hands together, see what that feels like, and expansion, 3, 2, 1, release. Everything in the universe, every word, every action, every physical substance and being, thought, plan, design, structure, is either in a state of contraction or expansion or moving somewhere between the two, which is typical. So we vacillate on this spectrum between contraction and expansion. And what you want is to be balanced. You want to have equal amounts of contraction and expansion. That's a full human being. You develop ideas, thoughts, you take actions, you build things, you form relationships. These are contractions. But you get to the point sometimes where you're overly contracted. So what do we need to do? We need to relax, let go. That's expansion. And we can either do that through chemicals or external forces, chemicals being alcohol or drugs, outside forces being masseuses, therapists, chiropractors, anything that you apply to yourself, an external process you apply to yourself to relax and let go. Or we can do it ourselves. And that's what scanning is. In reading his book, I realized that perhaps I could bring myself into an expanded state. And Thaddeus himself recommends several ways to do that, the primary one being letting go, let go. So it's very difficult to let go of concepts and thoughts, especially when you're obsessing about something or you're worried about something. It's very difficult to let go, to think. Thinking was a contracting process, to think our way out of a contractive problem. So what I realized is that it was impossible for me to relax a muscle, let go of a muscle, and think at the same time. You can't contract and expand at the same time. It's an amazing fact of life. You can either contract or expand, but you can't do both at the same time. So if I could find a way to expand simply, then I could start to bring myself into a more expanded state. Now, the muscles are dumb. Muscles can only do one of two things, contract or expand. The mind can do gymnastics. The mind can do a million things. So it's very difficult to manipulate your mind to expand because it'll keep saying, but what about this? And what about that? However, a muscle, if you tell it to expand, and by that I mean relax, release, will do what you say. Generally speaking, certain muscles, other muscles, you have to train them to relax, but they can only do one or the other. So if you can start to expand through the musculature, that will influence your entire body and being, which will in turn influence your mind, which is a muscle of sorts as it holds on to thoughts, ideas, concepts, feelings, plans. So as you begin to move yourself in a physical way, a muscular way into a more expanded state, this influences your mind to also relax, and all those obsessive thoughts, worries, concerns float away, and you're left in a state of calm. So that's the goal. But we work our way through the musculature. That's how we approach it. So let's start. Very simple process. Squeeze your hands together, tight, tight, tight. See what that feels like. Experience what it is to contract. It's really important that you get a physical sensation of what it is to contract. Now, we know when we're thinking hard, that's contracting, but that's thinking. There's really no physical sensation except that those that respond to the thinking. But if you squeeze your hands together, you can feel what it is to contract. So just sit with that for a minute. And there's good and bad about contracting. It's strength. It's great to have strength to hold on to things, to form relationships, to build structures. It's great to have strength, but you notice as you start to hold on to it for a long time, you start to feel a little sore. Maybe you want to let go, but you can't because you're obligated to this contraction. And that's what starts to happen in life. We start thinking too much, we start worrying too much, and soon we are overly contracted. But there's a very simple solution. What is that? To expand, let go. 3, 2, 1, and release. Drop your hands to your sides, take a deep breath. So now you just expand it. You let go. That was a simple action and a simple choice. All you did was release the muscular contraction, and you went in the opposite direction, expansion. Now, associated that was two things which go with it, and that is a deep breath. Breaths are expansive, and stillness and silence, which is also expansive. If doing is action, if making noise, forming words is action, a contraction, or bringing together of sounds, ideas, movements, then stillness and silence is the opposite, or expansion. So by sitting in stillness and silence, we've expanded. 3 things: release muscular tension, deep breath, stillness and silence. That's it. That is the sum total of scanning. So if you've got 2 minutes, just do that. That's all you need. If you have more time, continue with me as we work our way through the body, scan, as I call it, to find more pockets of muscular tension, because it's cumulative. As you begin to release one portion of your body, the muscular tension releases, the rest will follow. And you'll notice as you start to release the tension in one part of your body, other parts may also let go, because the body will follow your lead. So let's start with the face. That's zone 1. 8 zones. I've divided the body into 8 zones. You can do it however you like. You can make it 32 zones, 50 zones, 2 zones, top half, bottom half. But I do 8 zones, and I start with the face. And I start with muscles which are easy to control and manipulate because we use them all the time. The hands are the easiest. We squeeze and release our hands all the time. So the best way to start is to squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, and release, just to see what that feels like, to contract and then expand. Then we move into zone 1, the face. So on my count, I want you to release as much muscular tension in your face as you can. 3, 2, 1, and release. You felt that drooping sensation? That's expansion, letting go. And that's what we're going to continue to do through the entire body, piece by piece, zone by zone. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. You see that sort of slumping, slouching, slack feel. You'll feel it in your jaw. You feel it in your eyebrows. You feel it in your cheeks. Let go. 3, 2, 1, and the face, release. And just sit with that sensation. Sit with that sensation of expansion. Deep breath. 10 seconds of stillness and silence. Zone 2 is the top of the head. We're going to kind of move in a sort of a cycle. We're moving up over the top of the body, back down through the body, down into the feet is zone 8. Zone 2, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, let it go and release. And what's important here is that you start to be conscious of where you're holding tension. So if at first you say, I don't know that, am I holding tension in my head? I don't know. What do you mean? But don't worry about it if it's clear, if you feel it right away. Just kind of focus on that area and see if you can just let go of an incremental amount of muscular tension in the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 15 seconds, stillness and silence. Zone 3 is the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. So you've done the face, the top of the head, the back of the head. So do the whole head. 3, 2, 1, let it go and release. So sometimes when you release a muscle, you'll feel an instinct to breathe. And that's excellent because when we're contracted, it means we're holding under muscular tension. So as you start to release that tension, your body is getting the message that it's okay to let go in general. You've been holding your breath and suddenly your body will go, oh, I can breathe now? Oh, Thank you. You're giving yourself permission. So you'll feel an impulse as you let go of a certain muscle group to just go. You ever notice how when you've been in a very tense situation, then that situation passes, you find yourself going, because you've been holding your breath, subconsciously or consciously holding your breath. And this is what we do when we're in danger or in a perceived threat situation. That's good. I mean, we contract to protect ourselves. That's what gets us in trouble in the first place. It's necessary to contract to build your muscular suit of armor, to build your mental structures that can prepare you to face the world. But it's important to know how to let those structures go on demand so that you can recuperate from the stress that that contraction creates. Zone 4 is the neck. 3, 2, 1, and release. I always feel my shoulders drop when I let go of the neck because everything's connected. These are very closely associated. Anything that happens in this process that encourages you to release or let go, let it happen. I'm isolating these muscular zones, but that's only so that you can focus specifically on those zones. But if in releasing your neck, you find your legs or feet relaxed, let that happen. Or if at some point everything starts to relax, just let it go. You know, there's an old story which I've told many times here about a man is walking along and somebody comes up to him. He looks very confused. He's looking at the sky and the first man says to him, "Is there a problem?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm trying to find the moon." And the first man says, "Oh, it's right there." And he points up at the moon. And the other guy says, Oh, yeah, there it is. Thank you. And the guy goes, "Well, you're welcome." And he goes, "No, seriously, thank you." And he goes, "Yeah, you're welcome." And the second man says, "You can put your hand down. I see the moon." So all of these are pointing at the moon. Once you see the moon, once your body starts to completely let go, let it go. Put your hand down. You're there. You'll know it. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. You'll feel an amazing transition from holding to release. And it's invigorating because you've been devoting, whether you're conscious of it or not, a lot of energy to holding your positions, your mental positions, your political positions, your philosophical positions, your muscular positions. You've been devoting, consciously or unconsciously, a lot of energy to that position. We try to define ourselves in life. I'm Larry Cedar. This is me. This is what I think, and this is what I do. And we put a lot of energy into defining ourselves, and that's great. You have to define yourself to succeed in life. But at some point in the day, or several times in the day, you can drop all that. You can become nothing, nobody, empty, silent, relaxed, calm, still, at peace. One of the reasons I'm changing the title of this process from SQANNING to SCANNING is because there's a tendency on the part of all of us to want to define processes and structures, as Thaddeus Golas calls them. So in my mind, I was building a technique called scanning, and I was going to spell it with a Q because that would make it different. Someday I could write a book about it and teach classes. And then I began to realize, what am I doing? I'm building another structure. I'm building another cage around myself. That goes against this process. It is antithetical to what Thaddeus Golas teaches. I approached him once about doing a presentation, a theatrical presentation of his book, and he said, "Please don't." This was 25 years ago. "Please don't," he said. I'm thinking, why? And then I understood why. The whole idea in scanning, as I call it, in expanding, what Thaddeus calls it, is letting go, not applying more structures, more labels, more definitions, but letting go of everything till you come to a point where you are literally nothing except your breath and your beating heart and the sensations of the air on your skin. You are undefined. You are clear. I can't help myself. As a human being, I'm always moving to create structures, and I've done the same thing with this process, which I called up till today scanning, but I've decided to let that go. These now are just going to be relaxation sessions. I call them scanning still because we're scanning the body for physical tension, but there's no specific uniqueness about this technique. Everybody knows how to do it. You know how to do it. Everybody instinctively knows how to do it. All I'm doing is going through the session for myself and sharing that process with you. Zone 5 is the shoulders. Let them drop. 3, 2, 1, and release. Again, the shoulders. 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 6 is the chest, the stomach, the front of the waist. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, you're looking for an incremental change, the most subtle of changes, because you can't contract and expand at the same time. So even the most infinitesimal expansion is moving you away from contraction. And again, it's cumulative. Your body will start to get that this is a place we're going to, and it will join in. So don't worry if you don't feel a big change. Just try to experience a change, however subtle. Zone 7 is down the back and into the pelvis, and that's the back muscles. That's quite a large area, but tune into that area, and that connects to the pelvis. And we hold a lot of tension in the pelvis area. Sexual elimination issues are all down there, so we tend to hold a lot of tension. So see if you can just let go of the tiniest amount of tension. Feel your butt, as it were, sink a little more comfortably into your chair. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 10 seconds, stillness and silence. See, I don't know anything that you don't know. I'm sharing my journey through this process with you, but you probably already know this anyway. The only reason I'm doing this is to reinforce, if you're interested, the technique and to benefit myself. As I take myself through this technique, even today, I begin to feel more relaxed, more balanced, because I come to these sessions like everyone, carrying the whole first half of the day with me. All the things I've been worrying about, all the things I've been thinking about, all the goals I'm trying to achieve, all the muscular tension that has been applied to me, all the mental confusion and obsession that has begun to work my brain. I come to this just like everyone else. So I use these sessions to expand for myself. I do it openly to share that with you if it's of benefit and interest to you. Zone 7 is down the legs and into the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, just think about your feet and take 10 seconds to just focus on your feet. And the interesting thing about the body is, as you focus on an area of your body, and this is good to know in terms of healing in general, if you have an injured portion of your body, and I learned this from someone who practiced what was called network chiropractic years ago. I had injured a muscle, which I was told would take about 2 weeks to heal. I'd torn a hamstring, or a calf muscle, actually. And I went to this guy and he said, well, we can accelerate that healing process if you're interested. I said, of course I am. I want to get back to work. And he had me lie on the table and focus on, by myself and also through his touch, a very light touch, that injured area. And when he touched it very lightly, and this is what you can try for yourself, very, very lightly, almost the least amount you can touch something without applying pressure, and had me direct my energy and focus to that calf muscle, it began to throb. Now that throbbing was the blood moving into that area. I was directing a healing energy to that area. And I'm not trying to sound all mumbo jumbo, hocusy pocusy, new age, but in fact, I was directing my body to pay attention to this particular area. And it throbbed. I sat there lying there and it throbbed. I could feel the blood as he touched it, and I directed my energy there. And we sat there for like 10 minutes. He sat there next to me, just kept his hand there. And I just focused on the area. And he said, okay, that's today's session. Go home and do it yourself if you can, but come back again. Tomorrow we'll do it again. And in 4 days, that calf muscle was healed. Now, I'm not saying that will always work, but I'm a firm believer in this as a healing process. So what you're doing when you think about your feet, as I say, think about your feet, you're directing your focus to your feet, and you may start to feel a slight throbbing. Now, the feet are the home to many, many, many nerve endings associated with other parts of the body, the stomach, the lungs, the brain. And if you've ever looked at a reflexology chart, and look it up on Google, it's fascinating. They have these charts of the feet, and they're color-coded. You can see certain portions of the feet are affiliated with certain organs or parts of the body. Like if you rub the toes, I don't remember exactly, but that affects your brain. If you rub the center of the foot, it affects your stomach. So it's really a great place to relax, to allow circulation, because it will affect your whole body. So think about your feet, and on my count, release the tiniest amount of muscular tension. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 15 seconds, stillness and silence. And I'm always somewhat amused at myself, because as I progress in this session, as hopefully you are too, into a more expanded state, which I have less of a desire or compulsion to talk. I find the moments of stillness to be much more valuable and pleasurable. And that's the goal. Again, I take myself through this process in these sessions with you. And if I was to rate myself, which I've done in the past, let's say I came to the session a contraction level of, let's say, 8 or 9, I would say I'm probably at a 6 or 5 now. So I've moved the dial. That's all that's required. Move the dial. If I had moved it from a 9 to an 8.5, that's a victory. Any movement towards expansion, anything you can do to move into an expanded state is of great value. And what you want to start to do is infuse your day with moments of expansion consciously, because we tend to move through our day and just respond instinctively or reactively to whatever's happening in our life. And then at the end of the day, we're a total wreck and we can't figure out why. And we rush for a shot of whiskey or a joint or jump in the jacuzzi or call our therapist or whatever, because we don't know how to let go of all that contraction we built up over the course of the day. So when you learn to use these small, simple techniques, you can pepper your day with expansive steps. You could take 30 seconds to take a deep breath. You could take 30 seconds to sit in stillness and silence. You could take 30 seconds to pick a zone, any zone, and just let it go. But you have to make that decision. Every time I sit down to scan, it's a decision. I've decided to let go of everything I'm doing and thinking and move into a state of being. And we resist that. I resist that. Because how do I feel good about myself? The things I've achieved, the things I'm saying, the things I'm doing, how much money I have in the bank, how big is my house, what is my position in my career, how many people know about me. These are all the things we think about and do. How much of a vacation am I going to take? We're thinking, processing, planning. Okay, so that's natural. That's good. But we don't want to let that go, because we think if we do, we'll slip down the hill. Like we've climbed, almost to the peak of the hill, and we feel like if we let go of that rock we're holding onto, we'll slide all the way down. But what happens is, no, if you let go of that rock, well, then you get to just sit on the mountain for a moment and let your hand rest, so that when you're ready to keep climbing, you can go back with renewed strength. But it's hard because we instinctively feel like we must continually hold on. So scanning, now spelled SCANNING, the incremental release of muscular tension, which includes deep breaths, stillness, and silence, allows you to keep in balance. We contract, but we learn to expand so we are balanced, because that's where you want to be ultimately. I don't want to be a totally expanded creature. That would be dust. I don't want to do nothing. Then I wouldn't be able to achieve what I want to achieve, to fulfill my instinctive destiny where I feel I need to go, I'm supposed to go as a human being. I don't want to just let go of everything, but I do want to learn how to let go enough to be balanced. Because in an expanded state, you clear your mind, you relax your body, you heal, you clear the desk, as it were, the workspace, so that you can think more clearly. So when your next challenge approaches, you have a clear mind. It's not clouded. You're not restricted by your own thoughts, your own physical being. You're balanced. That's all this is. So let's move through it. We have 5 minutes. I like to keep these under a half an hour. I tried to do a 15-minute session last week, but it's difficult. So let's do it again. First thing, deep breath. Just sit in stillness and silence. Clasp your hands together. See what it is to contract. Feel that. On my count, 3, 2, 1, release. 3, 2, 1, release. And we're going to move through the zones. The face, 3, 2, 1, let it go. Release. Feel that drooping. Move on to the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. It's like someone poured syrup over the top of your head, and you can feel the musculature just now drooping over your skull as it lets go and just hangs. Zone 3 is the back of the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. I felt my shoulders drop. Stay tuned for associated release. You'll release one part of your body and another part will let go. That's excellent. Again, you're just moving your body in a different direction. You're working on a specific part, but the rest of it will suddenly go, oh, there's a change happening, and follow along. The back of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. The neck, 3, 2, 1, and release. The shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 15 seconds, stillness and silence. Zone 6, the chest, the stomach, front of the waist, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 7, down the back and into the pelvis, 3, 2, 1, and release. You feel yourself sink into your chair. Zone 8, the final zone, down the legs and into the feet, 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. And if ever anyone asks you to explain this process, because I hope you'll share it with others, if you ever are with someone who you feel could use some assistance, tell them to squeeze their hands together, 3, 2, 1, and release. Or have them sit down and be still and silent for 15 seconds. Or take a deep breath. These are all expansive steps. You can do as much or as little as you like. The point is to move into a more expanded state. And that's it. So a scale of 1 to 10, let's say I came in at a 9, I'm probably at a 5 or a 4 now. And I'll do this again later, and I try to do it throughout the day if I can. And I encourage you to do the same. It's called scanning. Again, now SCANNING. Scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. So I'll repost this session on my Facebook page if you missed any or all of it or just want to watch it again. And I also post these sessions to my scanning page, which is still called SQANNING. I end every session with rule number 1, love yourself. Love yourself. Wake up in the morning, go to sleep at night, loving yourself. Take a moment to love yourself. Say, I love myself. I love everything that I find uncomfortable or unfortunate about myself as much as I love the things that I love about myself. Love is the most expansive action you can take in the universe because love is acceptance. It's openness. It's permeability. It's embrace of what is. So start with you. Start with you. And then when you find yourself loving yourself, then it's so much easier to love others and help them as well. And hopefully heal the world because, man, what a mess. Thanks for visiting, and I'll see you next time. Take care, and bye-bye.